My name is Dimitri. I was born in Moscow, Russia in 1985. And until 7 years old, that's where I was living with my mother. Life was okay until the Soviet Union basically fell apart. And it became a little tougher to find job, and the money were basically not worth anything, pretty much. So we needed support, and we decided to move with the rest of the family where they lived in southeast Ukraine, in a city called Mariupol. And so that was the move. One day we just picked up all our stuff and left. One of the things I remember after we came to Ukraine, it was a little bit of unstable time, and there was quite a big shooting in the city, and there was somebody shot at about 5 or 5:30 a.m. just right, maybe 50 meters from the house where I live. So we heard the shots, but we didn't really pay attention. And then in the morning I was walking and I saw a lot of people, but I was, too busy going to school. So I went across the people, and then I saw a dead body right in front of me, So it was kind of, okay, that's the world we're living in. The crime rate was high, and it was a little bit dangerous walking on the streets alone. So for my music school, my mother had to take me, or my grandparents had to take me. Somebody had to take care of me, because it's usually, when we go there, it's still okay, but when we finish, it's around 9 p.m., somewhere there. So you have to have an adult walking with you, because it's dangerous, and it was a little bit striking to see dead people next to your house, Once we arrived in the city of Mariupol, I had to again rediscover my family. Most of them were musicians, so with no choice, I was put in the middle of milieu of the musicians. When I turned 7 years old, I had to go to school, and we had a separate school for music where kids could get taught for free, because it was still from the Soviet Union leftovers, so it was for free. My mother asked me which instrument would I like to play, so I had to pick one, and once I picked, I had to stick to it. So I picked cello, and I really loved the sound of it. I loved everything about it, and I saw my future teacher performed many times, because he was playing in an orchestra where my mom played, and it was perfect for me, because I observed him many times, and I really loved what he was doing, and he was the best celloist of the city where we lived. The city was about 500,000 people, so it's not too small, not too big, but anyway, he was number one, so it was I was kind of proud that I was his student, and so that's where my training began. Right now, I'm playing bass. The reason for the switch was that when I came here to Canada, the cellos that when we looked at the prices, they were crazy, and I had to basically jump back to the instrument, and we looked at the prices that teachers were charging and everything around, and it was coming up to $10,000 about just for an okay cello. And with the hours that we had to pay for the teachers and for the schools, it would come up to crazy amount of money. So we didn't dispose of that. And I decided to, again, to pick an instrument and play. I didn't like the guitar so much, so I decided to pick a bass up. And I went to a pawn shop, and I had only about 80 bucks on me. And I saw an old Ibanez Roadstar 1985, and I said, I played it a little bit, and it was all destroyed, but the sound was really good. And I said, well, you know, I might as well get that bass. And I asked how much the guy wanted for it, and he said 120 bucks. And I told him, well, listen, I have only 80 bucks. So take it or leave it. Like, you want the 80 bucks, I'll give you the money, you give me the bass, and bye-bye. Or otherwise you keep the bass and you wait another month or two to sell it, and you know, whatever. And I told him I really like the bass, but all I have is 80 bucks. So that was a deal. I got the bass, and I came home, was really happy, and I started to play it almost every day. And of course, in the beginning it was very awkward because I never played bass before. I never played I literally played guitar maybe for 3 months, and then I switched to the bass. I thought I was capricious, but though once I started the bass, it wasn't the same feeling at all as guitar. I right away loved the bass, though it was difficult. And slowly, day after day, I was just practicing for myself. I was 14 years old, and after school, what do you have to do? Nothing. Or you go outside, do stupid things, or you can do some music as well. The first time I went busking, it was during school time when I was 15 years old. My friend, he was playing the violin, and we couldn't get any constant jobs during school. Only in summer we could get a car wash job or something like this. But then during the school time, if our parents weren't giving us any money, and they weren't really giving us a lot of money, so we wanted to have some money to spend it, different places, whatever, eat pizza or, go out and play pool, whatever, but we didn't have any money. So we decided to go busk. My friend, he was playing violin, I was playing bass, so we made maybe 3-4 songs, really improvisation. And we went in a metro, we booked a place, and we started to play, and we actually started to make like 10-15 bucks an hour, and we're like, oh, cool. A lot of people think that, when you play in a metro or you play on the street, that there are pretty much no rules, that the guy just, oh, I'm gonna go play, and he picks up the guitar, the amp, and, hey, let's go. So it doesn't really work like that. If you want to play outside on the street, number one, you have to pass the audition, you have to pay your permit, and only then you are allowed. So if you don't pass the audition, that is only once a year, you're basically you're out. You have to wait for the next year for the next audition, and so on and so on. The same thing, once you get the permit, you have to renew it every year and things like this. About busking in the metro, it's a little bit more easy on the permit side, but though there is much more rules applied to busking in metro. You have only special spots with, I think they call it lira, an instrument. Whatever, there are signs with liras a little bit everywhere in Montreal on the stations. So the musician is only allowed to play there. That's the spot. Further down, you have to book your place before you go. If you come and it's empty and there is no little paper in the back there hidden with a schedule of musicians, then okay, you can play. If not, you have to go in the morning. About what I do, I wake up at 5 a.m., I take the first metro, I go to the station that I like to play, and I book my time. Usually you're allowed 2 or 3 hours at the station, depending on the station. So you make your schedule, you put your name, and that's when you come to play. So you can only play one time at the same station per day. There is a lot of homeless people or people that like to beg in the metro, and they pretty much sit down anywhere. And when people come by, the usual logic of the spectator is, oh, look, that guy's poor and he doesn't have any money. And that guy has a bass and he's playing and he has an amp, and a battery, so he must be doing okay. This guy's not doing okay. Let's give him money, not this guy. I had crazy people that are running by and just, aggress you and stuff like this, or sometimes you have good stuff happening to you. You have really generous people. They can give you $20 and, really come and listen to your stuff and actually get interested in what you do. And you have a lot of also good replies, and I see people smile when they look at me, and I know that there's a reason for them to smile. It's a little bit like being your own boss, If you whip yourself a little bit, you can actually get some result out of it, and you can start making some money if you put some logic in what you're doing, if you pick in the right time to play, if you're picking right place to play, and if you're picking right stuff to play. So these three things actually can make you earn a little bit more money than you would just come out of blue and play somewhere. So regularly I can pay my bills with busking or having side jobs. So, sometimes I get calls from some companies to help them do some dispatch or sales and transports. But I love doing music, so a lot of time I have free, and that's when it's all up to me. How am I gonna make my money? Do I wanna go work for an uncle, or do I wanna go and make some money with what I actually like to do? And it's a little challenge, and it gets interesting when you're actually doing something that you like and you get people to like it, and those people that like it are actually helping you pay your bills and you know, make your living. Definitely it's not a superstar living that you make out of busking, but it definitely, if you apply some strategy to it, and you know, if you put your passion and your soul into it, it's gonna come out good. Maybe things will happen. I mean, don't wait for them to happen. Go and do your stuff, perform, have fun, join bands, play with different people, take as much experience as you can, and hopefully, you know, one day you'll end up sitting in the studio and not even knowing how you got in there, you know? I mean, people call me sometimes to record in the studios, and it's fun, it's unexpected, you know, because I don't really put an ad or something like this that, you know, I'm available. People come see me play, and if they like, well, they call me, they invite me, and that's how it works for me, at least.